Hello, thank you for being in a new video. Xiaomi has just introduced the new Xiaomi 15 series, which includes the base model and the Ultra model. Interestingly, globally we are not going to find the Pro version, and we are also going to notice some small changes compared to the Chinese version. So please pay close attention. Let's get started. Let's start with the Xiaomi 15, which is the small model. It is curious that there will be only 2 members in this series, and in this case it is even more curious to remember that this device was presented in China since the end of October. So we see a very important gap with respect to the global launch. I definitely don't like that Xiaomi is taking this delay for some reason, but that's what they have decided. So join me in getting to know first the details we see in this compact model, which mainly that will be its benefit. It is very small and very comfortable in the hand. It is somewhat reminiscent of the iPhone 15 Pro or iPhone 16 Pro with respect to the compact size it can reach, and that, as I say, will be its main attraction. But being compact doesn't mean sacrificing things like battery or power or even things in the photographic section. So let's start by talking about the design. Globally, this device has been presented in the colors black, white, green, a liquid silver option that has an interesting finish at a glance. To the touch, it will obviously be smooth, but under different lighting angles, you are going to perceive some waves that do give the appearance of being liquid silver. Obviously, it's not silver, but it gives a nice aesthetic touch to the device. And it is interesting that it has been released globally, because sometimes this type of special or more attractive editions remain only for China. But in this case, they have decided to incorporate it also globally. I remind you that this device has IP68, resistance to water and dust without any problem, and in this case, we will find a thickness of 8.8 millimeters in the glass edition. But the edition that has this liquid silver finish amounts to 8.48 millimeters, but it is still relatively thin. Although it does not bet a hole to reduce the thickness to the maximum as we see in Samsung or Apple. In this case, we will also find a weight of 191 and 192 grams. Again, the liquid silver edition weighs slightly more, but you don't see an overly aggressive increase. Also, you have to consider that for the screen we will find Xiaomi Shield glass. Although in this case, in its first edition, unlike the Ultra model that in a moment I will tell you that comes with the new generation. The frame is made of high-strength aluminum, without too many surprises, with a smooth finish. That's why I tell you that it is quite reminiscent of the iPhone 15 Pro. Regarding the screen, we find 6 and 36 inches in its diagonal, so it is a compact device. Its peak brightness is 3200 nits, and as expected, we will find a resolution slightly higher than Full HD, or some call it 2K. It has variable refresh rate between 1 and 120 Hz. It is an AMOLED panel and also compatible with HDR content and advanced stuff. Definitely a high-end display. Obviously, we will find stereo sound without any problem. And with respect to the photographic section, we find a 32 megapixel front camera with aperture f2.0, although unfortunately with fixed focus. I think definitely if Xiaomi wants to position itself in the high end, needs to put autofocus on the front camera, because definitely the iPhone camera and the camera of some Galaxy S will be much better. Specifically when you record yourself. Hopefully they can improve for the next generation, but this was a moment where Xiaomi should show that it is determined to conquer the high end. It looks like we will continue to wait. The most attractive of the device will be on the back, as in the Ultra model, because we will find attractive cameras, although not as high as in the Ultra model. But the main camera is 50 megapixels with f-aperture, 1.622 optical stabilization, and uses a sensor light Fusion 900, which is a sensor. High-end, although it is not made by Sony or Samsung but by OmniVision, but anyway it is a high-end sensor. This for the main camera, which has a focal length equivalent to 23 millimeters. Then we find the ultra-wide angle camera of 50 megapixels with aperture f2.2. Although in this case fixed focus, so it does not have macro capabilities, but fortunately applying a little zoom if you could get to have macro scenes, since its telephoto camera is 60 millimeters. But again has a high-resolution 50 megapixel sensor. It is a JN5 made by Samsung. We will have to see later how well optimized it is. So in this case, Xiaomi chooses to put a telephoto that does not have such a long optical zoom, but fortunately has a high-resolution sensor, and combining these elements could get to give us a good image quality, especially for the aperture, which is quite bright considering it is a telephoto lens. but it is definitely not worth it. More advanced the Xiaomi can put in place, that has been reserved for the Ultra model. But let me continue to tell you about this base model. In video recording, it will support up to 8K at 30 frames per second, or also in 4K at 60 frames per second, even in log. So it has good capabilities also for professional video recording. In software, we will find Hyperos 2.0 based on Android 15, with several artificial intelligence functions, although this does not seem to be the point. This is Xiaomi's most attractive feature, as it relies on internet connectivity for virtually all of its functions, and some are not yet available in all languages. So even though it has some translator or text recognition, text summarization, everything that has to do with language depends on the internet connection, and it also has some functions for photo editing, such as enhancing the level of detail or expanding the image to imagine what would be around it, or also the traditional object erasers, an option to eliminate some reflections that can be generated. So those are the novel functions that could be integrated, but it does not seem to be its main attraction due to the limitations of internet connection. Something remarkable is that it supports Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6.0, so it comes with the latest connectivity technologies. The processor is the Snapdragon 8 Elite, the most powerful we see today, and comes with 12 GB of RAM, two storage options, 256 or 512 GB, as it should be in a high-end device. An important new feature is also that it now integrates an ultrasonic fingerprint reader, so it does not need a backlight to try to detect your fingerprint, unlike other devices that can be annoying when unlocking at night. Plus, the unlocking it will be faster, and it could also be done even if your fingerprint is wet. So it is an important change that we had not seen so far in the high-end Xiaomi. But it seems that they are gradually refining this good experience, and in this case for the global version, if we are going to find a change from the Chinese version. It is something that Xiaomi had been doing, and we also expected to see changes this high-end series. In the battery of the Chinese version, we find a capacity of 5,400 mAh, while for the global version, the battery will be smaller, although fortunately there is not so much difference. Specifically would be 5,240 mAh, in both cases with support for 90 watts charging. So that's with respect to the base model, but now let's look at the Ultra model, which I think will be the most attractive, at least in terms of the cameras it may incorporate, which I think is its main novelty. But first I tell you that in terms of color availability, we will find the black, white and silver chrome option, that is. We will not find the version that comes combined gray with green that I had liked that was presented in China. So there we see a small change in terms of the Chinese version and the global version, because globally we will not have so many options. Although it will be available the special photography kit that adds some additional accessories, including gives you extra battery capacity. In this case, the weight is 229 grams for the silver chrome edition and 226 grams for the black or white edition. The thickness is 9.48 millimeters, 9.35 millimeters respectively. So Xiaomi has no special focus on making the device thinner, as we see it very much in Samsung and possibly some other manufacturers. This device also has IP68 aluminum frame of very good resistance and the second version of Xiaomi Shield Glass. So it has an additional level of drop protection compared to the standard model. The screen will be exactly the same as we had already known for the China model. That is, it has a diagonal of 673 inches with a peak of 30,200 nits. The resolution is 30,200 x 1440, reaching a density of 522 pixels per inch. The refresh rate is variable from 1 to 120 Hz and comes with AMOLED technology compatible with HDR content, so we see a display that definitely has a high resolution. The camera is a top-of-the-range camera. We will also find stereo sound without any inconvenience. And with regard to the front camera, we will find a 32 megapixel sensor with f2.0 point aperture. It is a sensor made by OmniVision, but unfortunately in this case we also do not find autofocus. But the most attractive thing will be on the back, because it comes with a very advanced photographic system, although without too much evolution compared to the last generation, which already in itself incorporated very good cameras. In fact, in this case we have lost the variable aperture that was seen in this Xiaomi 14 Ultra. So the main camera is 50 megapixels with fixed aperture of f1.633. autofocus, and in this case Sony's Lithium 900 sensor, which is the high-end sensor. In addition, we are going to find an intermediate telephoto camera of 50 megapixels with f aperture at 1.8, and in this case a focal length equivalent to 70 millimeters. That is more or less 3x optical zoom. Fortunately, this camera has macro capabilities for photographs close to 10 centimeters. We will also find a periscope telephoto camera that has Samsung's 200 megapixel HP sensor. It is incredible to see this sensor incorporated in a periscope telephoto camera in conjunction with the rest of the cameras, so this is the main novelty, as it will now have a higher resolution sensor that allows more cropping within the screen and thus improve the digital zoom at long distances. In this case, it also offers us optical stabilization, and with respect to the last generation, it improves by 136% the light gathering. So it's a really important improvement. This according to official figures from Xiaomi, but later we will test when we can have it available for a review. Finally, the ultra-wide-angle camera is also 50 megapixels. Although in this case with aperture f2.2, that is, it comes with a slightly more closed aperture that reduces the entry of light with respect to the last generation. I do not know the reason why they have made these changes, because on the one hand they have improved the periscope camera thanks to this incorporation of the new sensor that has more resolution and allows better light capture, but they have removed the variable aperture and have closed a little the aperture of the ultra-wide camera. So as I told you in the Chinese version, I do not know if this is a real improvement or a setback, because you have to find a balance maybe to be able to accommodating all these cameras, because the accommodation has been quite complex considering that the Samsung HP uses a lot of space to achieve these zoom capabilities. For video recording, we will find 8K at 30 frames per second as maximum quality, but you can also record in 4K at 120 frames per second for cinematic slow motion. This with both the main camera and the telephoto camera to have different perspectives. In fact, you can also record in Dolby Vision at 60 frames per second in 4K, or record in 10-bit in a log format for something much more professional. In fact, Xiaomi has shared some images of how this device would be used in more professional productions, wanting to demonstrate that this device has tremendous capabilities. And the truth is that yes, at the camera level they have practically achieved excellence in terms of mobile devices, although they still have things to improve on. The device has a few other sections if you want to be a flagship device in all the standard. For example, at the software level we will find several artificial intelligence functions, as I mentioned a moment ago, but all of them depend on the internet connection, so it will be a little slower or it will consume more mobile data, and some people might have some concerns about privacy. We will find the Snapdragon 8 Elite also available here. In fact, this processor has very good capabilities of running artificial intelligence stuff directly on the device. But Xiaomi has not managed that development to take advantage of the processor's capabilities. It is extremely powerful and comes in 16 gigabytes of RAM, two storage versions, the basic with 512 gigabytes and the highest with a terabyte. It should be remembered that also Xiaomi incorporates several layers of cooling for this processor. And with the battery will happen the same as Xiaomi has done lately. That is, in the Chinese version we saw a capacity of 6,000 milliampere hours. But the global edition will have a smaller battery, and in this case, if it is a more important difference, since the capacity will be 5,410 milliampere hours. Fortunately, it still supports 90 watts load, but personally I find it very annoying that Xiaomi does this, especially with such a big difference, and considering that it is the most expensive model. In fact, we must also consider that in China anyway prices are tighter. Then it is a bit strange to buy a more expensive model but with less battery. We do not know if it is part of Xiaomi's strategy, maybe to get more profit in sales, as any company has its right to do. Or it is due to some other limitations, or I do not know. We do not know the official explanation. But the truth of the matter is that many Xiaomi launches lately have a bigger battery in China, smaller battery globally. Something I forgot to tell you is that in this case the storage is UFS 4.1. Unlike the base model which has UFS 4.0, so you should have a much smoother and faster experience. The price of this device announced for Europe has been 999 euros. On the screen you see the reference price in other currencies, just so that you have an idea, but remember that the prices here are not the same as over there, although the liquid metal edition goes up to 1,099. On the other hand, the Ultra model goes up to 1,499 euros. On screen you see the reference price in other currencies. Just to give you an idea, this for the addition of gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. Xiaomi also took advantage of this event to present the Xiaomi Pad 7, which, like the Xiaomi 15, was presented in China since October last year as well. That was showing a lot of lag, but I'll remind you a little bit of its specs. It comes with the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3 processor. It also comes with an 11.2-inch screen with 3.2K resolution. It has several HyperOS functions like HyperConnect to share things with the cell phone, or even use the cell phone camera on the tablet, and similar things of advanced interaction, which is a demonstration that Xiaomi is advancing in a good way in its interaction, and with this could come the Xiaomi is a little more attractive to users of iOS or the Apple ecosystem. By the way, with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra also, Xiaomi has introduced a new tool to be able to interact in a better way with Mac and to be able to send files more easily. It is something that many Chinese manufacturers are doing, I guess, to try to attract those who are part of the Apple ecosystem. But back to the tablet that has a battery of 8,850 mAh supporting 45 watts load. It comes with 4 speakers around to have a good multimedia experience, although as you notice, the screen is not AMOLED, so it is not the most advanced we would like to see. On the front, we will find an 8 megapixel camera for video calls, back 13 megapixel camera for scanning documents or something similar, and has an aluminum construction with a weight of 500 grams. A thickness of 6.18 millimeters and will be available in gray, blue and green colors. Also in this case supports Wi-Fi 6E, and if it has keyboard accessories, it is also compatible with a special stylus. But not being the Pro model, it is not the high-end tablet completely Xiaomi. Xiaomi also took advantage of this event to show the Xiaomi Smart Band 9 Pro that already existed previously, even in global form. So we will not pay too much attention to it in this release. But it also showed some other accessories such as the Xiaomi Watch S. This watch was also presented since October last year in China and took a long time to arrive globally. This watch bets on a round format available in various colors with different band options, also to offer users maximum customization. In fact, you will notice that there will also be changes in the finish that have the frames and offers us a screen of 1.43 inches, very similar to the one we see. In other watches, a thickness of 12 millimeters and comes with a weight of approximately 44.5 grams with 5 ATM resistance, so you can go swimming without any worries. The battery promises a battery life of up to 15 days thanks to its capacity of 486 milliamperes. In the operating system, we will find HyperOS 2.0, so do not bet on Wear OS from Google, therefore will not have a catalog of applications so extended, but will greatly improve the interaction with the entire ecosystem of Xiaomi products. So that, for example, from the same watch you can control parameters of your hearing aids, or you can capture photos remotely and also use some gestures in conjunction with the tablet, so that, for example, you can change the slide in a PowerPoint presentation or similar things. With respect to health monitoring, it will also offer you what you would expect. That is 24.7% monitoring of heart rate, oxygen saturation, stress levels, sleep monitoring and everything. This with a little more precision with respect to past generations. It also includes GPS and allows data synchronization with some third-party applications, although that will have to be checked a little more precisely. It offers more than 150 sport modes and has a digital crown. By the way, I had forgotten to mention that it also serves to interact with various system options. They also have several available covers, so it can be an interesting option. The ones that are new are the Xiaomi Buds 5 Pro, which are the high-end headphones of this manufacturer. In this case, they have dual amplifier 3 drivers to have a very good sound. Among the headphones I have tested, these would be the first to integrate 3 drivers, I guess, in order to separate bass, mid and treble, and to have an even cleaner sound. They offer us Qualcomm's aptX codec to have virtually lossless audio and access also to 2 equalization profiles made by Harman, as they have a close collaboration with this manufacturer. Focused on audio, you will also notice that they have noise cancellation, 3 transparency modes, weigh approximately 5.6 grams, and are available in the colors ceramic white and Titan gray. They offer a battery life of 8 hours without considering the case, but considering the case, they could go up to 40 hours. They offer Bluetooth connectivity 5.4 and up to 10 meters range. But of course, the most attractive of these headphones will be the improvement or equalization they have achieved through Harman Technologies, where Xiaomi ensures that they will achieve a very positive experience, but of course that we cannot yet prove it with demo units. This we would have to test when we will have a unit for ourselves. But for now, you should know the existence of these headphones that promise a lot and have this closed design with very nice curved lines, a satin finish on the inside, a reflective finish on the outside area, and the control area that supports pinching. So this has been all regarding the launch of all these Xiaomi products. Let me know in the comments which one you like the most and what do you think about this strategy of presenting some different specifications with respect to the China version. I think we will be in front of a device with a very special focus on photography. It may become the most attractive, or you could even say the best device in terms of photography this year. But that will have to be seen because there will still be serious competitors in this segment. Although globally, several Chinese manufacturers do not launch their most powerful models in terms of photography. So it is likely that globally Xiaomi could become the king of photography this year, but that remains to be seen. For now, we have reached the end of this video. If you liked it, you can tell us about it, and we'll see you next time.